So the game is done. Forest lost again. 5 losses in 6. And we could sit here and discuss the game and everything, but I just don't have the energy. So let's dig under the bonnet and start talking about who the hell is to blame for this current crap show we're seeing. Hi guys, hope you're doing well and welcome to my post-match reaction for Villa 3, Forest 1. Coming up, we're going to go through the culprits. We're going to say the pros and cons against them. And I'll start by saying this. There's no right answer in my opinion. I think whoever you blame for this, you're probably right to some certain degree. But I'm going to give you my opinion. But more importantly, I want to hear your opinion. There's also a poll going on our homepage on the community tab. So go check that out. Put your votes in for it as well. Because right now, most of you are blaming the Greek father. So let's get into it. Please make sure you've hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. If you want to help my mental health and grab me a coffee, feel free to do so. The link's pinned in the comments. This club, I don't know why, but this season is just breaking me more than League One seasons, more than seasons where we messed up in playoffs, all this crap that we've seen in the Championship. And I don't know why it is. I think maybe it's because we went into this season thinking a new dawn, a new day, Forest getting back into Europe, £200 million spent, no real major dramas. And then we get the Nuno stuff going on. And that's where I want to start. We now have to discuss this guy. A lot of you are holding him responsible. In the poll, you don't have him top, you have him second. And I hear it. I hear it. To a certain extent, I agree. I don't know if I agree with the reasons why a lot of you are thinking Edu is the problem. But, you know, again, this is what I love about this community. We all are here to have our opinions. My opinion is my opinion. And it's not right and it's not wrong. It's my opinion. And you guys get to share it in the comments. So if Edu is your number one target for the issue, let me know why in the comments down below. Now, I assess it like this. And I did speak to Ant about this because we all know Ant loves Edu, right? And he made a couple of points that we will speak on Gore later on tonight, which should be at 7:30, by the way. And I agree with some of it and I disagree with the others. I don't think the recruitment was that bad in the moment. So when Callum Mwenda was signed, when Bakwa was signed, when Douglas Luiz was signed, etc., I'm looking at that thinking, this is a good squad. This player has potential. This one could help us, you know, with X, Y, Z. You look back at it now and you got to say the signings that we've signed, only really Hutchinson has been quote unquote successful. And how are we defining that success? He's got 1 goal in the Premier League. He's been outcasted out of the Europa League squad. And he's only just recently started to get into games. So with that, you could make the argument that all the rest are flops. So 160 odd million of flopping, which is crazy. But I'm not going to do the hindsight thing on it. I blame Edu because he signed Sean Dyche. Now, some will argue to say, obviously it's Marinakis that signed Dyche. Obviously it wasn't Edu and what have you. Edu put his name on the official document that was put out on Forest social medias to say that him and Sirianos went for Dyche. They did all their data. They did all this crap. They assessed the squad and what we need. And the only name they came up with was Sean Dyche. I've made no secret I didn't want Sean Dyche. I still don't want Sean Dyche. Even when we were winning, I didn't want Sean Dyche. As a temporary solution to get us through to the end of the season, to then go get Marco Silva, fine, I can stomach it. But right now, 5 losses out of 6 is not acceptable. And what is Edu doing about it? And I'm not even convinced the piece is that clean behind the scenes at Forest. I wouldn't be surprised if Edu's putting a lot of people's noses out. That he's coming in with this I'm from Arsenal mentality and you do what I say and no questions asked. And maybe that's why Nuno fell out. And I hear the argument for the fallout with Nuno and him winning. And a lot of you would say that Nuno should have been the winner in that one because of what he did last season. I'm not on board with it because I still think there's a hierarchy when it comes to these situations. If you don't like your boss, tough crap, get a new job. And that's basically what Nuno did. So in essence, if Edu is the problem, that then snowballs to the person who hired Edu being the issue. Okay? And I will never say Marinakis is the issue, because without him, we don't have Premier League football. We don't have the players that we do, even though half of them are crap right now. We don't have the talks of stadium development for the 600th time. And we don't have an owner who cares. So I am fully 100% behind Marinakis. But that does not mean I can't disagree with some of his decisions and some of his judgments. And this Edu thing is now starting to be more trouble than it's worth. Even if I don't mind the Edu signing, the greater good is better than the individual kind of thing. And it's clearly disrupted too many things. So, and you can't ignore the warnings that we had from all the Arsenal fans. I remember I did a video with Potts before Edu signed. He didn't really have great things to say about Edu. I did it with a couple of the Arsenal fans, some pro ones as well. We did an interview with Ben Jacobs and everything. And it's just, there's no smoke without fire in what I'm seeing here on Edu. But Marinakis hired him, so Marinakis has to take the responsibility of it. Also, the other thing I'd put on Marinakis is Ange Postecoglou. Now, when Ange came in, did I like the style of football? Yeah, I did. But it was an absolute clown show from start to finish with Ange being in. Ange should never have been hired at Forest. I never had him on my shortlist, but I was willing to give him the chance and what have you. For me, the reason Ange got hired by Marinakis was because Marinakis saw the Europa League trophy and he wants silverware. And I admire that ambition within him. But Ange isn't the only person who's won silverware. So that's another mistake. The management mistakes this season have been catastrophic. They really have. And I'll say it again, Nuno should have been sacked, not because of what he did on the pitch, but because of what he did off the pitch. You could make an argument that Forest form towards the end of the season was horrific anyway. We bottled the Champions League from a 93.3% certainty of getting it. And our form continued onto this season, barring that Brentford beautiful game that we had opening day of the season. So I think what should have happened is Nuno got sacked. They should have paid the compensation for Marco Silva, because this is the biggest mistake. Forest at the time Nuno got sacked had just spent 200 million on a squad. And forget hindsight now. At the time, you see it, you think that's good players you could work with as a manager. Forest were also in Europe. Forest were being talked about could we finish, higher than we did last season and what have you. Forest stock was really high. At that stage, you could do better than Ange. You could definitely do better than Dyche. So you could have got yourself a Marco Silva, who at the time was airing his frustrations publicly about hating the transfer window and who didn't want to sign a contract and what have you. You could have also, this crazy idea, gone outside of the Premier League, because there are more leagues in the world than the Premier League, and found a manager who could do a job as well when your stock was high. After Ange went, it looked like a clown show, and now under Dyche, it's literally Punch and Judy. So Marinakis has to take some smoke. I almost blame all of them, if I'm being honest with you. And then this brings us on to kind of the more molecular side of it, and that's the manager. For all the wrongs that Marinakis has got with managerial appointments, for all of the beef that Edu has caused, Sean Dyche has ended up as manager. Whatever way roundabout it has happened or hasn't happened, he's in charge now. He is not getting a tune out of these players. I don't feel like the players respect him. I don't think they believe in his tactics. I think the players like him because they're probably getting an easy ride. And these prima donnas that we have as players are quite frankly pathetic. They didn't like Ange. Morgan Gibbs-White famously with the quote, I can breathe now. I ain't been seeing much of this breathing on the pitch, mate. I know you scored yesterday, but the rest of the time you've been holding your breath or something, because I'm not seeing this breathing. So the players are not doing what they should be doing. I looked at that team sheet that started yesterday, and I was like, the fact that this is a 17th in the league team is absolutely unbelievable to be where they are now. So Sean Dyche for me has to take a lot of the blame for what's going on the pitch. He has no say on what happened in the summer. He wasn't here. He has, no say in the appointment of it. What he does have says on is the tactics, and also taking responsibility for the defeats. What I've noticed with Sean Dyche, when Forest win, he's there taking the plaudits and the credit, the tactics, this was our game plan, that, and the other. When we lose, like he did in his post-match interview, which I had to grin and bear to watch, it was, they didn't stick to the plan, they didn't enact this plan, too many of these casual mistakes, didn't talk about how tactically he got it wrong in the first half, didn't talk about, when we lost to Everton, how stupid 52 crosses into the box was, or how we shouldn't have thrown a game away against Fulham in the form they were in at the time we played them. No, it's always the player's fault or someone else's fault when he loses, but when he wins, it's because he's been a tactical genius. So he has to take some smoke for that. And then when you get onto the molecular level, you got to look at the players. And this guy, what the hell was he doing yesterday? I don't think, and I'm trying to think, if it's feasible to come up with a stupider keeping disaster in the Premier League than what we saw yesterday. Obviously, Matt Turner did a similar thing against Liverpool. I don't think it was as bad as this. Samba getting sent off wasn't as bad as this. And then to just rub salt in the wound, to blag the injury and cry like a little bitch on the pitch, I lost all respect for him. I really did. Get up, be a man, own your mistake, and stop trying to hide behind an injury and explain what the hell you were doing up that pitch. He can't play again. I think he's a good keeper. And by the way, before you lot start in the comments, I've never said start him over Sells. But he's done for me. That mistake and the reaction to the mistake is completely and utterly unforgivable, in my opinion. So that's my assessment, guys, of where the club is and who's at fault. But the problem is, you can only change one entity. Marinakis, if you blame him, he isn't selling up tomorrow. Edu, he's got his claws right into Marinakis and the club. The only element that can change is the manager. Would I change the manager? 100% yes. You'll be asking in the comments for who. The answer is I don't care. A lot of people say you can't have 4 managers in a season. Leeds did it and got relegated. Another club did it and got relegated. I don't understand why that's the rule. Get me 7 managers in a season. If that's what it takes to work, then do it. I really don't care. But right now, every fear I had about Dyche is coming true. And we now have to win this game against West Ham. Because Tuesday is the biggest day of the season. Probably until the end of the season. We'll discuss this further on Grumpy Old Reds tonight at 7:30. I'm really looking forward to hearing all your comments in the comments down below. Please make sure you've liked. Please make sure you've subscribed. And we'll see you tonight for Gore. Come on, you Reds.